I am trying to get. Is he still in here? Is fentanyl blow dart still here? Did he fuck off? It seems he fucked off. This is really bad news. Oh, he is here. Fentanyl, man, we need to get you to request speaker somehow. It's been a long time since I've talked to you. Get up here. You have 3 seconds. You have three Mississippi seconds, right? So they're slightly longer than like a traditional. There we go.
Yo, I was like dying when you were talking about the cat lady without a cat phenomenon. There's this fucking cat cafe in New York City called Koneko, and it just brings all the fucking freaks out. Like it is one of the worst like it needs to be firebombed how bad it is.
What's its
A
premise?
cat
Just
cafe?
curious.
That already sounds like the worst genre of anything you could create.
They have them in my city too.
Yeah, the cat cafe phenomenon. So like in Japan, they have like otter cafes, right? And then like
What?
it's spread to other. Yeah, it's like a thing because like even though otters are not like domesticated animals, they're like really friendly and like really nice, and it's like a huge thing inside like Tokyo, Osaka, Yokohama, and then they started making like cat cafes and puppy cafes and shit like that, and they brought the cat cafe concept over here, and like you'll see them inside of like Austin, you'll see them inside of New York City, Los Angeles, but like
So what is the idea behind it? Is it like the cafe provides the cats, or is it like you bring your cats?
the cafe provides it's like being
Okay,
able
that
to
makes
like
more sense.
pet a cat. Like almost like renting a cat, not net-a-porter, but you know what I'm talking about, like those like providers that allow you to like rent clothes. It's like that for like a cat, but like the people who like visit these businesses, they're all like non-binary, gender dysphorics, and like it's really bad, like autistics that like rock back and forth and like go "Mm," like stimming out loud.
Oh my god.
It is bad. Yeah, so that I was like dying because like there is unfortunately this like subculture around cats where like it's like the human detritus, like the refuse of society, are like
Yeah,
attracted to
yeah.
them.
Like I don't know what it is at all, but like I've just been like astonished in the sort of because there are people who like I had otherwise assumed to be like, because you don't, in a neighborhood, you don't typically have visibility on what's going on inside of anyone's houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's just like
It
you're
just
getting the
draws them
visibility
out.
in when these people come and they come over and they start telling you like what's going on with their lives and how they're spending their time like researching these cats and stuff and like they're like, oh, like I've been trying to do X, Y, and Z things, and like I had assumed all of these people were in normal functional marriages, and now they're coming over and it's like, well, yeah, like my husband and I don't really like talk that much, and he hasn't been letting me, and I'm starting to realize like, oh my god, shit's like fucked. Everything is everything is falling apart. This is so awful. Like I'm learning now. Like my next door neighbor, like her and her husband have they don't even sleep in the same. Like it's not even like they have separate bedrooms. They apparently have separate floors of the house. Like one of them lives upstairs and one of them lives downstairs, and they
I've
It's
don't
never
sad.
talk.
heard of that.
It's sad, but that's becoming more and more common because like more and more Americans are becoming like giant obese bloat lords. So like more and more people have to have the fucking CPAP machine.
Oh yeah.
So
The
uh,
ultimate, yeah, I can imagine like CPAP being like the ultimate destroyer of like sensuality in the bedroom, right? Like it's like imagine finishing up like banging one out and then he like rolls over and puts on the CPAP mask. Like you would feel so fucking scammed.
there are dude bros who like use that as like like you trick a girl to like get the ick after you get what you wanted. Like it's like you know
Oh
there are
yeah,
guys there are guys who like will whip out the CPAP mask and it's like yep, and it's all
the
these
rental
like
the
body.
rental CPAP to get her to ghost herself for you.
No, what's his name? Derek from More Plates, More Dates has like a CPAP, but like it's like a thing. Like you'll see like on forums, like guys discussing like, yeah, I whip it out, and then she's out.
That's fucking genius, dude. Oh
I've
my
heard,
god.
well, because CPAP is one of those things where, like, even if you don't necessarily have like a diagnosed breathing condition, there's still like a 90% chance that using a CPAP is going to provide better sleep, right?
So what does
Yeah,
it actually
it's like
do?
one of
Because it's
those.
like a mask, but how does it help breathing? Because I always thought I have no idea.
It's
I
like
just know it looks
what's
like
the
a cheap
acronym? Like
fighter pilot's
continuous
mask.
positive air pressure or something like that. Basically, uh, it provides like a pushing and a pulling
Oh,
magnifier, as
okay.
far as I understand it, in response to your own inhaling and exhaling. So if you're like trying to inhale and it's not, it's being blocked by like membranous tissues in your nose or
Yeah.
mouth or something, I think it like pushes through that with some sort of air pump. And then in the reverse, it does the opposite. I might be fucking this
Wait, so
description up
why don't
horribly wrong.
no, that
I'm not a
that still
CPAP
sounds
technician.
right. And then I mean that at least makes sense. But how the heck why don't hospitals use that instead of the other thing that like just kills people?
Oh, respirators.
Yeah.
Well, see, the thing with the respirator is like you have more like control over it. I'm not like a nurse or like a doctor, so I'm probably like fucking this up. But like
I wouldn't
the
respect you if
thing
you
is,
were.
because you have more control, because you have more control over a respirator, you can like blow up people's lungs. Like the one of the first one of the first big COVID deaths was the Stacy's mom guy, the Fountains of Wayne singer, and like apparently what ended up happening was like the nurse literally like put the
Just
wrong
crank that
functions in
bad
and
boy.
like blew up his lungs from the inside.
Oh God, dude.
Like,
Yeah, that's because like CPAPs have like a like there's they like automatically reach like a maximum that's like a very low like level of pressure compared to like what a human lung can naturally do at like max force, whereas like respirators can theoretically like hit pretty unlimited heights there.
Well, you never know when you're gonna have to like intubate a gorilla or someone who has much stronger lungs.
Yeah, I think it was like if somebody has like a lot of fibrotic growth in their lungs, there's going to be a lot more resistance to expansion or something like that. So they wanted to, because like there's some lung conditions that get really, really fucky where like the lungs start like growing so much fibrotic tissue that they start kind of like shrinking down and contracting into like little broccoli heads. And you've got to really stretch them out again. But if they don't have that sort of harsh reinforcement, then yeah, I think you can kind of pop them.
oh, what do you guys think about like the whole like they're getting rid of fucking nicotine from cigarettes?
What?
Yeah, like apparently they signed some like executive order that they're going to like limit nicotine inside of cigarettes to like 3%, so like they'll be less addictive. But like all that will happen is like
They're
people
gonna
will
smoke
switch.
more cigarettes.
Well, that and also people are gonna switch to the gums and the patches, which like people are already doing for like energy boosts. Like no, and I will say like one of those Nicorette patches, it's like it hits you in the fucking face. You feel you feel like you can write shit. Like I don't know, not to be like a productivity nerd or one of those like rise and grind hustle culture people, but like it fucking gets you worked up. Like
Well, it's something that I've noticed looking at every sort of writer that I've ever liked the creations of is there are literally no writers ever that I have looked into who do not use nicotine. Like every single successful writer in the entire world has used nicotine in some way. It seems to be like the specific writing nootropic.
well, yeah. Like there was always, and even when like movies and television was like more realistic, you'd see like the writer or like the actual like muckraker journalist, like the good the good journo. Like he'd be chain smoking. He'd have like a cigarette in his hands as he'd be typing out on his little typewriter. I don't know. I was like a social smoker. I never really like used it for like productivity or like ever got like heavily addicted. I did have like a pack a day stage. I'm fucking lying.
How many are even in a pack? That seems like a lot.
It was cheaper. Like back in like 2011, 2012, before they raised the taxes on it. Like now, a pack in New York City is like almost $15. It's fucking ridiculous. So like what
Yeah,
people do
I was
is
gonna say like lowering the nicotine concentration for this stuff is straight up going to like people are going to go broke.
Well, yeah.
well, what people over here do is they'll like drive into Pena or like go to like the Indian reservations to like get cartons. But like the Indian
Yeah,
reservation fucking cigarettes, they like they really fucking suck. And then the cartons, they're cheap in PA because then you don't have to pay the punitive taxes, but like you have to drive 2 hours to Pennsylvania.
Dude, so
I mean, it's still
imagine
probably
imagine
cheaper
if
to
you
fill
will
a
here
car
for
in
a
the US.
second.
Say,
Imagine
Lucas.
somebody smoking a nicotineless cigarette. What is your opinion of this person?
Poser.
I feel like this is just like the most horrible series of incentive structures that could have ever been concocted. That's all brutally aligned themselves to specifically like ruin this one person's life forever.
I mean, like there were people when this news was like first announced inside. I think it was like June, not June, July 23rd or something like that. Like they were like, I'm going to fucking kill myself. I am going to hang myself right now. Like there are people freaking out on the timeline over this shit. But
I kind of miss when I used to see like timeline stuff because all of those, those daily like memes, like the daily main character posts, stuff like that. It was all kind of interesting. There was always like a fun energy to get behind, but it's just
yeah.
been like I don't know what's gone on with the algorithms lately, but like my timeline is just totally unusable.
I have like a list of like schizos that like I people watch. Like,
Yeah, that's probably the way. The way to do it is probably just put the like the top 10 people who have the most centralized sight on all this stuff in.
one guy, he's like this guy in North Dakota, and apparently he has like an addiction to you know that those sleep aids Unisom, like the ones that like people will
Yeah, vaguely.
what's that shit? It's like the same thing as Benadryl, and people are like, "Oh, I get sleep paralysis demons when like I take like 20 of them." He claims he has an addiction to that, and like he also like grows his own like psychedelic mushrooms. Just an insane fucking guy.
I can't
don't want
fall
to blow
asleep
up
at
his
night
spot
unless I know
because
I'm going to be terrorized in the morning. That's so weird.
I don't want to blow up his spot because like recently like Score right now he's Greer Groiper, he like blew up. Great content from the guy, but sometimes like you don't want to like tell somebody like, oh shit, like this guy is like a gold mine, because then like too many people find this person.
Yeah.
And there's also definitely an effect where like if too many people find the person, then it like changes their content permanently. Like once you start sending even like large amounts of like weird followers, but especially large amounts of like weirdo followers towards someone, they stop being weird. Like
Yeah.
they just turn into like another sort of like generalized content regurgitating person in some way.
I mean that's like when I was not afraid to like burn accounts like back in like 2018, 2019. It was like I was not afraid to like drop slurs or like fucking quote tweet people and get into arguments with them. But now I'm so fucking boring. And also like it's like once you break 1,000 follow, like you buck the trend, Lucas, but like most people, once they get like 1,000 followers, they start censoring themselves. They start choosing their words very carefully.
Oh, dude, if you saw me at 1,000 followers, like I have severely self-censored. There's like an egregious toning down of everything that's gone on. I think I've deleted most of it, but oh, geez. It was also just bad posting too, though. Like when I first came to Twitter, I think it was like I had been like very online for my whole life, and then when I got a job and went out into the workforce as like a young cucked individual, it was my I just became normal. I literally just became like a normal guy. I logged off. I just did work stuff. I had a girlfriend, bought a house, was planning to like get engaged and just start a family, like all of this normal shit. And then I logged onto Twitter again, and I started being like, wait a second. I really got lost in it there for a minute, but we're gonna turn this back around now. Broke up with the girlfriend. started being a weird freak again. Everything is feeling good.
Well, see, the thing is, like, a lot of people like, oh, you can never really go back to being a normie. Like, once you like become extremely online or like get involved in the scene. And like I tried to do that because like in the 2016 to 2017 era, like I was extremely online. Like I was like doing the 4chan stuff and like meeting up with like groups and like going to like actually meet with people. And then what ended up happening was like it was like, yeah, you know what, this shit's like fucking retarded. I want to like go back to like going to like indie shows, and like I want to like, you know, connect with like the hardcore scene again. And like what ended up happening was I started like getting like insane, like, man, these people are like talking about nothing, and like their memes. It's weird because like normies have like memes now too, but like they're like 4 to 5 years behind us in
That's what I
many
was gonna say.
respects.
Like I was gonna say, I think you could probably do it, but you'd need to wait like a decade, because you need to wait to the point where like their weird like normie memes start becoming like original to you, which is on such a massive time lag. It's probably gonna take like 10 years.
It's like I don't know how to describe it, but like you kind of can't go back. I was talking about this with he used to be called Brad Wilson, Stoneclaw. He was like he had like a conspiracy theory podcast back in the day, and before he got banned, he had like 5,000 followers. But he even said it was like, yeah, you kind of just like can't go back. Like once you're like inside of like a racist group chat, you guys are like sharing Peaky Blinder memes with each other. You just everything feels fake. I don't know. It's like a weird like way to like put it, but it kind of does like feel fake. Anyway, I'm right now on like three white monsters.
White monsters. I'm three white monsters deep in the Friday morning. I guess it's a Saturday. Fuck, I forgot.
Wait, 3? I think that's why your heart was doing backflips.
Oh, it was my heart that was doing the backflips.
Oh, shoot. All right, I can tell both of your voices apart. That wasn't a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know what my voice sounds like on this phone, actually. I don't know if I've ever heard it recorded on. I think the only other space that I've recorded on this was the Pussy Protocol one, but I haven't gone back and listened to that one. Should probably do that. I was very excited to learn, though, that I can rip all of the audio off of this and go and upload it to a YouTube channel or something. I've got to start calling up. What I really want to do is, there are a lot of group chats by now that I've been in where there have been like a couple girls who have gotten into like a big fight, and I want to invite them up onto a space and do some sort of
You
mediated
madman.
conflict resolution between the two of them.
Oh, yeah. No, I can see where that's going to go immediately. Nothing but good things can happen.
Because it's the only way that you can get two blocked accounts to interact with each other on Twitter, right? Like there's no other way that it's possible. So this is the only way that you can kind of soothe their hearts and dispel the anger and, you know, really sort of bring things back to a normal baseline level.
Well,
right.
one thing that's interesting is online, everybody is like way more aggressive than they are in real life. Because like if you've ever been in like an online friend group that like actually like, I don't know, has like a party or like decides like, oh, we're going to like meet up in real life for like an event or something. Online will be like giving death threat. Even girls, they'll be like, I'll fucking kill you. And then like in real life, like people are just like twiddling their thumbs and like the beef gets squashed. Like most people, it's never on site, even though they're always saying like, oh man, it's gonna be. There's like a lot of like posturing online. It's sort of that. Well, it's such
It's
a
like that
ancient.
painting of the dogs barking like between each other on a fence or something.
Something that I've found, though, is
You're
like
talking to,
spaces
like,
kind of
the,
occupy this weird like middle ground between, like there's some people who see spaces as basically equivalent to like real life, and there's some people who see spaces as like just an extension of a group chat. So like some people will come into a space and they'll be with someone who they like totally fucking hate, and they'll be like, very civil towards them, just because like in their mind, now that they're talking, it's like real life stuff. But there's some people who don't get that at all. I ran into this one girl who was just like the most hostile. Like anytime anyone said anything to her, she just responded calling them like a like retarded shithead or just like random slurs and stuff like that. She's just like constantly aggro towards everyone in the space the whole time. And it was just like, how is this possible? Like my brain was kind of like stun locked, wondering how do you contain this much aggression within your heart?
You know who usually does that? The like Arabian girls that like kind of orbit around this scene. Like there used to be this one girl, her name was Noor. She would like come into spaces and then she would just like fight with everybody. But like she had like a crush on like a couple people. Like I think it was like a Dale, Digithetic, and like a couple others. And like she was like a glutton for punishment. She would come in, abuse people, then get abused herself, and then like leave and then come back. And it's like you actually see with like a lot of like the MENA girls over here.
Yeah, I was gonna say those ones specifically.
Oh, man, why is everyone deactivating? I know like this is not gonna be your last space, but like I was like for a second, oh shit, this could be Lucas's last fucking space. Is he gonna go away? What's going on?
Yeah, well, no, I wanted to name it My Final Space so that I can start releasing. Like, I want my series of spaces now. My next one is going to be called My Final Space 2. My Final Space 3.
Oh shit!
I needed there to be some nice continuity to it.
Oh fuck! You know, you could like put like a period.
The final Earth.
No, you could put like a period after like the number, and then like do like A, B, C, like 26, all 26 letters of the alphabet.
I can start using like a Dewey Decimal System based numbering.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I'm being a little bit of a chucklehead right now.
We need some chuckles, man. That's the problem with I want to come up here and just monologue towards everyone. Like I really, in my heart, there's nothing that I love more than public speaking, because getting to go and stand on a stage and just monologue, speak to everybody, have everybody focusing on you, everybody listening to you. It's like the height of existence for me, right? Like you get to perform as some sort of like a show cat. You're in a show, everybody's standing around admiring you. It's like so awesome. But you do it in a Twitter space and you can't tell if anyone's laughing or not. So there's no way to gauge. Like there has to always, like anytime you're doing public speaking, you have to constantly be using like 70% of your brain to like try and simulate audience response. And if you don't have the ability to do that, then you're just kind of like constantly in this realm of uncertainty. And I'm like, oh God, like they're not laugh reacting. Nobody's popping up any sort of clapping hands. Like, what are they thinking about my words right now? This really sucks.
Well, see, you have the charisma and also like the verbal fluidity, like the verbal IQ to like pull off a monologue. Me, well, ends up happening with me because like I got the brain damage from Muay Thai. I'll like go off on a tangent and then I'll forget the original point I was making. So I put a limit on what I have to say. Like it's like, all right, 120 words and then done.
Well, that's always my big issue too. Like I recently gave a wedding toast for one of my friends, and it was one of my friends who he was the one who, when I got my skull fracture, brain hemorrhage, etc., in a motorcycle accident, I was in the hospital, and this was the guy who came in, and he was the first guy to come into the hospital and say hey to me. And I was telling the story about that. And as I was telling the story about how I got brain damage in a hospital and this guy came to visit me, I like froze up for like the first time ever. And I just forgot what I was saying for like 30 seconds. And then I started again. And everybody just assumed that it was an intentional pause that I added for humorous effect to emphasize my brain damage. It was so fucking funny. Like everybody afterwards was like, dude, that was so funny how you paused up there, man. That was awesome. And I was like, thank you.
They were judging.
It was definitely on purpose.
Yeah, it was totally intentional.
Oh man,
that guy really did. So I spun it very good for him at his wedding, obviously, but that guy really fucked me because he came in and my parents didn't know that I had a motorcycle, and they really didn't want me to have a motorcycle because my uncle got killed on a motorcycle. So I had told them that the motorcycle was like my friends or my roommates or something like that. And he came in and he told them like 4 hours of stories about us and the motorcycles and how we always used to like race around various roads and like all of
No.
this shit. So I wake up and I find that my like web of lies has been totally dismantled by this guy to my parents while I was sleeping. And I only find out because my mom like walks me into like re-lying about everything and then calling me on it and being like, oh, well, that's not what your friend said. And I was like, oh, fuck me.
It's like, what did he say?
Yeah, it's like, I need you to recount specifically what he said to you so that I can just stop being humiliated like this. It was like the only time I've ever gotten like explicitly caught for bullshitting to my mom. It was so awful.
That's the worst like genre of friends, like the unintentional snitch, where it's like, all right, I need
Just trying to be friendly with your parents, and he accidentally just drops everything.
Yeah.
Well, that
Well, and it's especially bad because for a lot of these situations, like I typically am not thinking about, oh, like how, if you never assume these two spheres are going to interact, right? Like I never in a million years thought this guy was going to meet my parents. So I never thought to tell him like my parents don't know X, Y, or Z. It just never crossed my mind. But then suddenly, due to like this extreme fluke circumstance of me like launching myself off a motorcycle and cracking my skull open, they're now in the same room together as the only two people. And they're talking about everything and filling each other in on all these different parts of my life that I was really hoping they never would.
the ultimate not mixing friend group situation, but also like
Yeah.
dumbass on his part because like you don't tell the parents of your friend like, oh yeah, he was like riding around and he launched himself off of the fucking cycle.
Yup.
Oh fuck, bro.
Yup. Not super ideal. Yeah, we got rid of that bike though. That bike got that was actually a really interesting bike because it was like a 2008 Yamaha R1. I want to say probably the worst bike ever for riding on the street. But I crashed it once at 70 miles per hour in a crash that was actually not my fault. This was one where there was one road in the city that I was in that was like notorious for everybody racing on. And it was like it had one lane going side by side either way. And I was riding up and down it at night, and there were two people in cars who were racing, and they were going. So one person was going the right way in the right lane, and the other one was going parallel to them in my lane, like coming on towards me. So I was like, and I just like,
If you were a real
yeah. So I moved.
you go right through the middle of them.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so like I have two options here. Realistically, like I can thread it through the middle of these two cars, or I can just say I'm not gonna try that, and I'm gonna dump it off the side of the road. And I dumped it off the side of the road because I assumed that if I tried to go down the middle, I would fuck it up and die instantly. And so dumping it off the side of the road, there was a ditch to the side. And so I did like 2 or 3 end over ends. Like I rolled, like the whole thing tumbled. I did some cartwheels. And in the end, all that happened was I got like a minor scratch on my ankle. And I had like a slight bump on my helmet, but like no damage at all. Like I was totally fucking fine. And then the time when I fractured my skull, I was traveling at about 2 miles per hour, and something got caught in my drivetrain as I was pulling out of a driveway, and it just launched me.
Fuck, dude. Fuck. I never got into like a motorcycle crash, but I did get into like a head-on collision with a truck. That was fucking yeah, with the FJ Cruiser.
I love watching videos of things like a super low relative mass colliding with a super large relative mass. You have like a train running into like a car or something, where the train just like instantly crumples the car, and like I imagine that's kind of like what a truck running into you is.
Oh, dude, like it hit my passenger side. So it oh man, I don't think we'll get in trouble for this, but it was like a drunk Mexican with a CDL, commercial driver's license, driving late at night, and like other side of the road, like just like veered into like me, and I'm like Cool. I'm like, what the fuck? I basically like I steer my wheel away, and he still manages to hit the passenger side, and then basically, dude, I thought I was gonna die, but like,
Yeah.
But like,
oh shit, I hear like an echo of myself. Anyway, my head went fucking straight into the dashboard, and like I got a massive concussion. It was. Oh, dude.
This is why everyone's told me that like I can have a motorcycle where I live, but if I go to like Texas or something, like I absolutely cannot because there's like a bunch of how do we call them, uninsured drivers down there.
yeah, they're just unfamiliar with the culture, our road culture.
Uh,
So,
a lot of
Yeah.
people like make like legalized drunk driving jokes now because it is sort of like a kind of like an absurdist yet edgy thing that you can like meme about. But the thing is like if you've ever fucking been inside of an accident with a fucking you oh man, you're like, I want to fucking track this person down and kill him.
well, the pissy thing
Oh
is like
yeah.
they're not even like apologetic about it usually. They're just like, "Nah, fuck you, man." It's like, bitch, like this is entirely your fault. Like there's video proof of this being your fault. Everybody here saw this being your fault, and you're gonna be like, you're gonna be aggro and confrontational towards me as you rammed into my car. Fuck you, dude. I will literally track you down and end you.
Oh, dude, speaking of like ramming people, there's like this new trend of like people trying to like intentionally run over other people in like arguments. Um,
Is that a new trend? I thought that was just like the
eh,
average because this has kind of been like ex-girlfriends ever since they became old enough to have driving licenses, right?
Yeah.
Like
but there's been like such a like a ramp up in the phenomenon. Like there was that one that went viral of like the woman after the ex-boyfriend was like taking shit out of the trunk. She was like, I'm gonna run your ass over, and like
Dude, Katie's like bad.
slammed into like the facade of a building. And then another one recently was this was actually kind of sad. It happened in New York. Like a woman, basically, she wasn't able to get something out of a bodega, and then she said, "I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna like run into it." And she did run into the fucking bodega with her car, but ended up killing like a 67-year-old man, like just like some innocent guy playing scratch off tickets.
I love the idea of like announcing it before you do it, right? Like like I'm going to run your ass over, and then you like run their ass over. Like, something about it just seems so I don't know. Like I would get reverse psychology. Like anytime someone would tell me they were going to run my ass over, I would be like, probably not. Seems
Yeah, right.
unlikely.
Yeah, because I don't know, you're used to, as long like if you grew up in the suburbs, you're used to like people making empty threats that they're never gonna like act out on. But now people will like make a threat and then hype themselves up, and then 30 minutes later they'll act it out.
Yeah, I'm so used to people. So there was always like, it's like the thing where people will leave Twitter. They'll be like, yeah, like, goodbye guys. Like I'm wasting too much of my time on this platform. I've got to head out, and they delete their account for like 3 days, and then they come back. And like for me, there's always been a sense that like if I publicly announce I'm going to do something,
Thank
I'm
that
kind of
you.
applies enough
obligated.
social pressure that I understand I'm going to either have to do it or I'm going to have to leave forever. Like I'm going to have to fucking I'm going to have to like abandon the community in its entirety just because it's such an embarrassing, humiliating defeat for me. So like that's now what I imagine is happening. Like this person is saying like, I told this guy I'm going to run over him, and now if I don't run over him, everyone's going to think I'm a bitch. So I've got to do it.
I gotta do it. The stands they want. Oh man. Oh, dude. The another thing I wanted to get your take on, Lucas, is like this like stan fucking culture, like explosion with like K-pop and like all these like Glee kids.
Yeah, what is with that?
It's fucking huge now. There's like millions of them. Unless they're like running multiple accounts, it's like
They're
a
obsessive enough.
powerhouse now.
I'd believe that, but I don't know.
It, I don't
Wait,
know.
for real? I remember when Glee was like a thing, I guess, but I thought it kind of died out. Is it actually like multiplying now?
Yes.
It's like this like weird nexus of like K-pop fans, Glee fans, like pop singer stans, and it's like all of them are like either like Zoomers or like gay or trans, and like like they're like a huge force to be reckoned with now. I had to do like this thing for work, like basically like market analysis and insights on like what is this? How many of them are there? There's like 35 million of them, like spread between Facebook and Twitter. It's like
What the fuck?
yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely. So there have been, and I haven't noticed this myself really, but there's like this certain account physiognomy that I guess has been indicative of this like weird like K-pop, like non-binary, etc. type thing that my girlfriend's pointed out to me as like, oh, like they have this person as an avatar. That means that they have X, Y, Z belief. So I guess I did kind of
Oh my
understand
God.
what you're talking about through like a different lens. But
It goes
yeah,
so much deeper
they've
than I
always
thought.
been like they've
Also, they like act more like a hive mind. Like if you piss one of them off, they will all come for you.
yeah, that's definitely like the thing with anyone who gets mad on the internet, I've found, is generally part of some sort of like disgusting colony of ants who will come and try to destroy
Hey,
you.
ants are industrious. They're termites.
They're all these sort of like swarming. I want to call them hornets, but like I'm scared of hornets, and I'm not necessarily scared of these things. So it's like if you imagine like tiny hornets that are like fuzzy and their stingers aren't necessarily long enough to penetrate you. Maybe they're too thick or something. They can't get through the skin, but they're crawling all over you, and they're really pissed off. And there's just hundreds of them.
Yeah, like fire ants fucking eating you alive very fucking slowly and ineptly. Oh man.
They're like fire ants, but they're like lukewarm, right? Like they bite you, and you just
They're not really
you
good at it. So you're just like, what? Oh, there's ants on me. Oh my God.
well, because the main thing is they always like mischaracterize the entirety of my account. Like,
I say you're a fucking man.
Well, yeah,
And
because
the other thing
if they don't
is that they'll
mischaracterize.
call you like a transphobe or like a bigot and then expect you to be like devastated.
Have you read any of my profile? Yeah. Thank you thanks for getting up to speed.
I usually just tell them that I'm more trans than they could ever hope to be.
Yeah.
And they get really excited.
Well, I mean, you're very successful.
Indian guy, Rasul, you're kind of echoing a little bit. Sorry. Actually, why am I apologizing to an Indian guy?
Apologies are good. There's sort of a socially lubricious thing going on here. Without apologies, the entire world would be at arms right now.
Oh, actually, like they had that fucking study that went viral like a couple of years ago, where it's like half of people, like literally like 50% of people, apologies don't work, and it makes people angrier. Like there's like a shark smell blood in the water effect.
Oh yeah.
It depends on the context. Like if they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry for like hitting you with the door," it's like, "All right, fine, it was an accident." But if you keep bringing it up like day after day, like, "I'm really sorry I did this thing that pissed you off," it's like you're just bringing it up to annoy me now. I know you are.
Well, it's that guy that like he had like a profile picture of him in like footsie pajamas, and he was a fucking Oxford guy. He's like in our scene, like he like gets into our like group chats and shit. Rich Hanania, he like did yeah, he like did a study about like how apologies are viewed, and like almost all the time, like with like 50% of the population, is like it makes the situation worse, and they get angrier, and like their desire to punish you actually goes up, and like people are trying to like tie that to like the Trump thing, because like he never apologized for anything. He would like hit back harder, and I don't know, but at the same time, like I was like raised to like always say sorry if I did something wrong or like if like I offended somebody,
Did
and
the study take account for like online versus offline?
if you look up on either in the Twitter search bar or on Google, apology study Jonathan Haidt or Rich Hanania, it's gonna pop up and you'll be able to read it. It's like really short, but like
Brother Lukas, tell me about class B.
I'm sorry.
It's definitely like a certain type of person, though, right? Like I can tell that there are certain type of people I can tell. Like if I apologize to you, it's just going to go badly for me. And there's certain type of people. It's like I should do this, or else you're going to feel like I hate you.
I think like like some people just view it as like a form of weakness, and so they will just attack you if you like concede anything. And I think that's like more prevalent when it's like a mob. They will
Yes,
just be like,
especially when
yeah,
it's like a big socially visible
yeah,
thing. Like if it's
yeah.
some sort of like if they can attack you for this and get some sort of like cool points or something, then like the chances of apologizing is going to be good are very, very low. But if it's like a really personal thing, like you accidentally stepped on their work shoes and now there's like a scuff or something like that, there's a very low likelihood that they're going to go broadcast this and try to like crucify you for any sort of personal gain.
Actually, that's not the best example, Lucas. Have you seen the TikTok recently where like a guy stepped on another guy's Tim's, and then he was like, "I'm gonna fuck you up." What do you mean you sorry? You fucked up my. And he's like talking about how expensive they are.
I may have been wrong. I may have misspoken here. This is bad news for Lucas.
Oh man.
Wait,
I've
you said it
got
was
to
a
start
TikTok. I
learning
want to see the
TikTok,
video.
man.
See. Oh, sorry, I cut you off, Agrippa.
Oh no, I was going to say I want to see the video just for no specific racial reasons. I'm just curious who would be that upset about it.
Well, your hunch is accurate. I'm just gonna say.
Vindicated. Yes. All right. Cool.
Well, the thing that's going on with TikTok right now is like because it's hyper curated, and the more you like stuff, the more you see, like a particular genre. So like some people, they'll like end up getting like nothing but Ring doorbell videos of like attempted home invasions, whereas like others will get like gym girl content, others will get like and there is like a thing like a lo-fi Republican, he had like a tweet about it, and it was actually true. It was like, for the people that like are always talking about like, oh, the society's fallen, all this degeneracy and blah 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 blah, I scroll TikTok and like I see just the worst of the worst. Well, that makes me like raise my eyebrows a little bit, because like when I go on, I only see like woodworking stuff, this and that. And so I don't know, the whole like hyper curation of like what you see, like
It really will warp your perspective.
I think that's gonna make people like super atomized and like isolated and like unable to like talk to or like relate to anybody else.
I do think it's super funny when people will say like, yeah, TikTok is so fucked up, man. Like the only thing that goes on here is videos of 14-year-olds dancing. And you're like, well,
Well, you just
like,
told on yourself a little bit.
I don't know. I've seen other stuff on there. It seems like there might be a reason this is your feed, but
The rise of that app is like so interesting, because when it was Musically, they like bought like a bunch of billboards in like middle America, but like the desolated, bombed out parts, like near trailer parks and shit. So like initially, like the appeal of TikTok was like, come on and look at the freaks. Look at these people who like wear colored contacts and like dance to Evanescence and shit like that. And
They were advertising for the main market of the people who used to go to like freak shows and stuff.
yeah, like that was who they got on first. And there was like that girl, I don't know if she's still on Twitter, Nude Obama. She made like her entire posting career around like finding like cringe TikToks, like finding people who like you know, they're kind of like autistic in a sense. Like they're not socially aware, they're cringe, they're behind the times, and just like putting them on blast and like letting like the more sophisticated like people like basically get like a sense of like superiority. Like, look at these fucking freaks.
So
Look at these.
she was like a libs of TikTok, but instead of like libs, she just did like freaks general.
Yeah. And then that girl that like hangs around like the New York City dime square scene, Layla J, she created like fave TikToks 420 and like basically took like nude Obama's thing and like made it mainstream, like turned it into like a brand. Because there is like not tragedy porn, but like freak and just like misfit like porn. Like, look at these like poor unfortunate souls.
Yeah, it really is.
Wow, I'm really glad this didn't happen to me.
There, but for the grace of God, go I. Yeah.
Well, like I don't know. There was always like this like kind of voyeurism, like this like desire to like see like these like people that you know are below you to like make you feel better, like almost like a Schadenfreude. I remember with like the people that are a little older than me, there was like this site called People of Walmart where they would like show all these people like
dude.
mobility scooters or like shitting their pants in public. And the thing is, like, it does make you feel better about yourself on some level because it's like, yeah, I didn't let go of myself this bad.
Yeah. I mean, you spend most of your day comparing yourself to people who are like vastly superior to you in some sort of outcome, right? And then you log on to People of Walmart, and you're like, you know, like I may be certainly very far away from Jeff Bezos here, but at least I'm not shitting my pants in Walmart.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel bad on some level because it's like, oh shit, like, you know, I'm not a perfect person myself, you know, and like, I would not want
the
like.
important thing to remember though is to somebody you are somebody's shitting their pants in Walmart. There's somebody who thinks of you and they think that same, oh my god, I'm doing just fine right now, I'm not this guy.
See, like, everybody has like their own personal lol cow. Like, I have a few. Like, one of them is like there's this black guy in one of my gyms, and what he does is he fucking like goes on, he connects his phone to the fucking Bluetooth audio system, and then he starts playing anime music. Like anime openings and endings, and then like the fucking soundtracks, and like he makes people leave the gym. And nobody wants to fucking tell him to stop for like a couple of reasons. One, he's bigger than everybody. Two, he's also African American, so you don't want to get in trouble. And he's like the Gestapo for like fucking forcing everybody to listen to like fucking anime music. And
that would actually be so funny. Like, imagine you could do so well as a TikToker being like a big jacked black guy going into a bunch of like hyper liberal spaces and seeing how many just like outright obnoxious things you could do before somebody finally said, you know, like, fuck off, dude, like, or just like asking you to stop in any way, like seeing how much they would tolerate just having their home get like shit all over by your like stupid antics.
Like right up until you do something where they're like, I have to call the police. Like unless you like short of that you're basically allowed to do whatever.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things is like the Karen meme, kind of like Karen and Kevin. If you complain about something now, you sort of have like this like stigma where it's like, oh, look at this person like demanding like like civility and order or like good service. Like, fuck this.
No, the Karen meme was one of the initial things I was like, guys, like, is anyone noticing that this appears to be a meme designed to like prevent you from having standards?
Yeah, 100%. It's just so you don't feel comfortable enough to go.
All gonna die there.
I saw a video of some guy who was like complaining about their neighbors dumping a bunch of a bunch of like waste into their lawn. Like they were just like driving out, and like all of these families were just coming and dumping their trash and recycling and stuff like into their backyard. And they came out and they're like, "Hey, what the fuck? Stop dumping your trash in my yard!" And the guys were like, "Fucking Karen, bro! Like, fuck you."
There's another one where like it's like in West Virginia where like a guy was like stealing power from his neighbor, like literally with like fucking extension cords. Like after the owner like unplugs them, the guy walks over and he's like, "What's your problem, man?" And literally called him a fucking Karen.
What is wrong with these people?
I love that. Like, I don't know. I want to start doing that, or in some way, like, you know, how you were talking about how there's a certain demographic of people who just love watching like unfortunate people. Like, I want to create a TikTok channel of myself where I'm the most unfortunate person in existence. Like, every new TikTok is like some sort of additional horrible event that's happened to me. Like, it starts off with just like all of my relatives dying. Eventually, I learn like editing because like I was let's say, I don't know, I was going on a trip with my company and we had to take a rental car, and my coworker accidentally slammed my hand in the door, and I lost my pinky finger, and it's gone.
Every morning I break my
shit.
arms, and every evening I break my legs. At night my heart attacks put me to sleep.
That's what people thought Chris Chan was initially. Like they thought it was like a art project or like a avant-garde troll. Like it was like I'm going to like do a big reveal, and I'm going to show that, you know, this was all just a ruse, and you've all been like had.
And then it just kept going.
It just kept.
It actually
going.
is. It's the most avant-garde. Since what's his face, the guy from that Over the Moon story movie that Jim Carrey did. What's his name? There was some other like comedian who like never let up on the joke. Like he went and did like professional wrestling against women and stuff.
Oh yeah. He was an SNL guy, and his thing was like deadpan humor. I'm forgetting his name. He got smacked by fuck. I'm.
Yeah, like they had that thing on the Late Show where he was in like a neck brace or something.
Yeah, the WWE announcer Jerry Lawler like beat the fuck out of him too, because like he really was like basically fuck, I'm blanking on his name right now. Damn. Anyway, speaking about missing pinkies, there's someone who went viral recently because she had like a genetic mutation where she was born without like a pinky.
Oh, that's rough.
Was it only one pinky or was it both pinkies?
Only one pinky. I'll send it to you, Lucas. But the thing that's interesting is like people have been talking about for a while that like in 100 years like humans are not gonna have pinky toes.
Yeah, I always see that, and it's like I don't know, man. That's not usually how genes work, as far as I know.
Yeah, because like what's gonna happen is they're going to be like some like a con or like some like super beautiful woman that like has no pinky toes, and everyone's going to be like, you know, this is a trait we need to fucking breed out.
Future. Yeah. She keeps falling over. She can't get away from me anymore.
Well, it's like just the structure of the foot, right? Like, I mean, it's not like your toe ends with your toe. Like, it continues down, and there's bones that connect off of the base of your toe and go to the base of your foot, right? So, like, are those all going away too, or is it just the toe? And if it's just the toe, why would it just be the toe as opposed to...
No, I completely agree. Like, oh, thank you for inviting me to co-host. I have to mute for 1 second because, like, just really, really quick, you invited me while I was in the middle of a shower.
Okay, and?
So I actually invited you like 30 minutes ago. Is it just now showing up?
Yeah. Well, no. When you like first brought me on to speak, like I was in the middle of a shower and like I had to connect to like my Bluetooth system.
That's why your acoustics sounded so good.
Well, the thing that's funny is one time with a current American citizen and nightmare vision, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be in the space and have the shower on, but like everybody thought I was like pissing the whole time, like a giant continuous stream of piss.
Oh, you've either got a really impressive bladder or an extremely narrow urethra.
Yeah, so let me just like
just hearing like an actual shower head going the whole time would be actually, that's just a riot.
Yeah, it's gonna be like 2 seconds. It's gonna be muted. I just have to wash this Regena Pure out of my hair.
A moment of
Actually,
silence.
you want to remove your hats?
Yeah, where's the emoji for that?
So you guys know I'm not bullshitting.
I
just
didn't know.
makes me
I didn't
wonder.
know there was a little thing you can like raise your hand in Spaces now.
Can you?
Is this where this is so funny? Twitter is implementing features in like the most fucked up order of all time, right? Like
They
you
just don't tell
can't
you.
you can't use Spaces on a computer, but they've given me the functionality to raise my hand to indicate that I'm waiting to speak. Like who is doing the implementation of Twitter Spaces at Twitter? I would like to have a word with them. There's nothing to stop me from keeping it raised forever, too, is there?
What if you just wait? What if you're not raising your hand? What if you're giving me a salute because you really agree? I don't know. It's palm
Maybe it's a
forward.
high five. It's like an endless
Yeah,
high
there you
five.
go.
I don't know. I really Spaces have been really confusing for me. I like them. I think they're generally fun, but it's another one of those things where I'm starting to try and cope my way into thinking that maybe part of the reason they're fun is because of how shitty Twitter has made them. And if we make it so that you can like do them on your computer and you prevent people from like randomly dropping signal because they're on like a data connection because it's phone only, then it's actually going to destroy Spaces and make them like unfun. So they might have to just remain this shitty.
Yeah, there's that like freewheeling aspect about it that's kind of fun. Actually, speaking of being trapped on your phone, I didn't charge this last night, so I'm at about 14%. So I'm gonna have to duck out in a little bit.
Dang. Yeah, I
I
think I'm
even
down to
plugged it in.
52. This is the other reason I want to not do it on my phone is like I have to literally be sitting there camping my phone charger all the time or else it drains
Yeah,
like 30% battery in like 30 minutes. It's so bad.
it's crazy. I had it plugged into the car a little while ago, and it was still draining. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, no, car chargers aren't nearly enough. You literally like I still lose if I am on like 1.6 amp charging. I need to be on fast charging all the time or I can't outpace the battery loss.
That really feels like something an engineer at Twitter should be working on.
I think honestly you just need to make it work on computers.
Yeah.
Like I would just be sitting in a slightly different area but like it's the main reason you would want it to be on your phone is if you wanted to go hand your phone to random people and have them interject, right? Like I would totally go like if I'm out in public and I'm at Walmart and I want to just say like, hey, talk into this for a while, just join in on the conversation, just give it to some random person. Like that would be funny. But there's no way they designed that as a core feature, right? Like
No, that was not a consideration.
So then it just doesn't make a ton of sense why it would only be mobile app. I don't know. Maybe it's hard to do in the web app or something, or the permissions for mics and stuff are hard to.
I think it's just because someone went, well, Twitter's a mobile application first and foremost, so we get it right on the mobile app, then we move it to the computer, and they'll never get it right. So.
It's going to be one of those situations too, where like if they run it out across, they're already so bad with just two ecosystems, right? Like if they add in a third, it's just going to be the most fractured thing ever. Like already it's like all the iPhone people freaking out because their chat bubbles are slightly different in group chats now. And the Android people are sitting there in horror, understanding that within the next 2 weeks, they're going to get pushed an update that totally destroys their DM functionality in the way all the Apple people are describing.
Wait, what I missed? What's going on?
Well, we were admiring your bladder size.
Yeah.
No, but what is this new feature that they're doing with the DMs, this new update?
I don't know. I've just heard like all of the iPhone people in a bunch of group chats I'm in have been saying that the new DM layout is really shitty and it's ruining everything and it's destroyed their lives and ability to socialize and it's likely that they will never reproduce now as a consequence.
Went from 5% to 2.5%. How could they do this to us?
Oh shit! But what's this third platform you guys were talking about?
Just computer.
Oh no, we were saying like if they actually tried to expand to like a third platform, it would just everything would go upside down and crash.
Yeah.
because like I want to be able to do spaces off of my computer, right? Like they've essentially developed their own internal podcasting service, right? So all of the niche micro celebrities have their Twitter podcasts, but
It's like a call-in radio
Well, you
show.
know how Japanese people do it, and they've been doing it since the feature came out with Knox or BlueStack Android emulator from their desktop that has like a built-in recording function.
yeah. I've ran into a bunch of people who've been using the same thing.
And the way that they do it, the way like they describe this is they also have this thing called virtual audio cable. When me and Helios were cool, we were talking about like what we would do is like we'd be able to like have like stingers to like start the podcast and stop it, to like get music in, and like basically like do everything that the drops and like soundboard effects. Like you're 100% able to do it because like that's how like VTubers have their like spaces. But fuck, dude, like yeah, we not we, but like people really should start getting on and abuse the fuck out of it, like guerrilla radio on Spaces.
Yeah, that because I mean, right now the thing with spaces is just that like I don't like to do them as much because I have to like I like walking around when I'm talking, so I don't usually plug myself in. And then this means that for the next like 2 hours of my day, I'm not going to be able to use my phone because I have to plug it in and charge it because it's lost all its battery. And it's also limited by the like the quality of the voice, right? Like everyone here at maximum has the vocal quality that is allowed to them by their cell phone, which is like not usually something that people want to be listening to on like replay.
Yeah. Actually, I am walking around right now, and I desperately need a haircut. I have like this one clump of hair that keeps flying straight up. I look like Kramer. It's driving me nuts.
I don't know enough about any sort of pop culture TV thing to understand who Kramer is.
He's the crazy guy from Seinfeld. He just has the hair that goes like straight up like Bride of Frankenstein.
Are you making it work for you, or is it kind of a like a
No,
freakish thing?
No, it looks goofy as hell.
Sorry to hear that.
I've never actually just buzzed my entire head, but I'm seriously getting to that point where I might. Probably not. That might
I've been thinking about it a lot lately too, just due to the extreme low maintenance, hands off.
Right.
Like just walk around. I don't know.
My
I think I might be called a skinhead or something, but it would be kind of funny.
Right. No, my last haircut was like $30, and I was like, that's a lot of fucking money for you to just trim my hair.
I like that they've all started asking for tips now too. The last barbershop I went to had like a built-in 18% tip, and I was like,
"Well, fuck you."
That's a little egregious.
That's a little aggressive too, don't you think? Just like,
well, it's weird because like we're getting to this point with tips where it's like, wasn't it initially because like you don't pay waiters enough that they get a salary without tips, but like if you work a job where you make more than minimum wage, I thought you like weren't allowed to ask for tips, but I guess you can.
I don't know. I guess there's nothing about like, I don't know.
Like I don't necessarily care. I go to a barber where I get like an extreme discount for my haircuts because of my employer, and I give my barber like a fucking $20 tip every time, just because like it's a rare occurrence for me to get a haircut, and it's also nice of them to not fuck me up and leave me like aesthetically presentable as I walk around my day. So I'm fine with it. But it's just really weird when I think about like the average person who's asking for this stuff. I don't, it's like the equivalent of like Cash App in bio.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. That's just why I don't go. That's why I don't go to restaurants or anything, because I don't want a tip.
Yeah, and now like whenever I'm doing like a mental price calculation, it's so funny because like you know how we went from kind of thinking that shipping is going to be included because of Amazon, and now like whenever you go to a website and you buy anything and shipping isn't included, you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Robbing me.
And now you do that, but you have tax and shipping and then like a tip or something, and you're like,
yeah, right.
Just everything is inescapable. I'm starting to so for one of my companies, I have a bunch of Uline packages that get sent to me where they send me like the they give me like bulk order pricing for a bunch of like basic business like packing supplies. And I've started like, instead of Costco, like I've started buying from like Uline and other bulk suppliers for a lot of my shit now. Like I'm getting like 2 tons of toilet paper. We're getting just massive quantities of paper towels, like a 10-year supply of paper towels, just going all in on all of this stuff.
I mean, I would if I had the storage.
Yeah, I have an excessive because I bought my house when I was with my ex and I was planning on like starting a family up, and it would have been fine for that, but now it's just me, so I booted her out, and so I've got like a bunch of spare bedrooms and like extra garage space and all of this stuff, so I'm just trying to fill it with anything at this point.
Well, at least you've got room for hobbies now. And you're actually in a state that lets you do all the hobbies that I'm interested in, you bastard.
Yep. Fun place. I don't know. I think you can mostly do any hobby anywhere if you've got the balls for it, right?
If you're not willing to tell anyone about it, no problem.
Yeah. Oh, we've got some more requests here. Thank God.
All right, I'm at 11%. This has been super fun, but I have to go because I don't actually know where I am.
Okay.
So
Godspeed.
I need the maps function. Later, guys.
Later.
When you end the space, I'm actually going to. I'm on my grandpa's farm right now, and I'm gonna start tendering the field. Sorry, my phone died. I was like, no, not in the middle of the space. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I was wondering where you went. I was like, usually he gives us a little bit of a peace out. So I just made 10 eggs for myself, and I put them down. I wandered around a bit to talk to you guys, and I came back, and they're all fucking gone. My cats ate them.
Aw. Yo.
I've been like viciously starving my 2 adult cats here for so long because when I was letting them outside, all of my like cat freak neighbors fed them so much food that literally over the course of like 1 week, they gained like 4 pounds each. And like, they're like 10-pound cats or something. So like, they're experiencing like a nearly 50% weight gain and they just looked like shit. Like, and they started like, cats are always jumping up and down from stuff, and they start like jumping around my house. And I hear them jumping down from like the counter, and you just hear like a thud, and their like stomach fucking bottoms out on the floor. And I was just so disgusted by them. I was like, you guys you absolutely have to go on a diet. This is so horrible. And I looked up how much food they're actually supposed to be eating. And it's like, they're supposed to be getting like a half of a cup of dry food a day, which is like, that's like nothing. Like I was giving them probably more than that on top of whatever my neighbors were getting them, man. So I don't know. They're looking great now, though, is all I'm going to say. These things look like athletic machines. Unfortunately, if I ever leave any food down for 2 seconds, they eat it, and they actually try and eat it like off of my fork as I'm putting it into my mouth.
So I have I thought he was a Turkish Angora, but apparently he's a Turkish van, and it makes sense because like they're the only type of cat that like is hydrophilic other than the Savannah cat. Like when I'm like taking like if I like do a really punishing workout or like had like a really punishing like judo session and like my muscles are sore, I'm doing like an Epsom salt bath. He's got to try to jump in and try to swim around inside the fucking tub.
That is really weird, man.
Yeah, but the thing is, he got a little big, and he's like a naturally big breed, the Turkish van. Like they're muscular and strong. You can walk them on a harness, and like they enjoy. They're a weird cat. Like you were talking about, like dog-like cats earlier. Apparently,
Yeah. No, yours sounds awesome.
apparently the Turkish van just like has like so many like canine-like traits, and it gets along with my because I have in my little pod, my little bug pod, Dutch Shepherd. His name's Shadow, and then I have a small little Morkie, and her name's Nugget. And they get along great, all 3 of them. But the thing is, the cat, he's a big chunky boy, like he's a chonk, and I like tried to like cut back on his like food, but then he started like supplementing what I was giving him with hunting, and like he caught like rats inside the building, and I'm like, wait, you like have been eating fucking rats and mice inside this New York City building? Oh man, but
I like that though, because it's like you know, like if you're gonna be fat, you've at least got to have the dedication to do it yourself, right? Like if you're a wild cat, you should not be out here just getting fed to the point of obesity by your caretakers. If you truly want to be obese, and that's where your heart is sending you, then I don't think there should be a problem with you going out and hunting your way towards that goal. But like other people doing it for you is just kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me.
we had like a sex worker in here earlier when we were talking about fat cats. Uh, her name was like Squirt Demon or something, and like as we were talking about like our fat cats, she just kept hitting the peace emoji and left. Oh man. Yeah.
I always get like a really interesting combination of follows and unfollows whenever I do a space. Whenever anyone, not necessarily when I do a space, but whenever I'm in a space and people hear me, there's always like, I don't know. I something that I did recently got a bunch of very like gender queer, non-binary types in, and they'll like see something from like 2 years ago and be like, "Oh my goodness,
Well, see, the thing is,
can't believe you'd say this."
you are like very varied in your posting style. You can go from like snarky and smarky to like
Very, very gay and submissive.
no, but like your posting style, like you like mastered many different forms of humor, and then when they like hear like this guy with like a Chad voice start talking, they're like, oh shit, he's not one of us. And the fucking like art school kids and the trans kids are like, oh, I'm out. A good exam.
I think I kind of have a lisp today, right? Like my nose is totally clogged up. I should be lisping pretty good.
Nah, you're not lisping.
Damn, dude, I gotta take less ivermectin. I missed some of my dose today because so I eventually bought like a massive pack of like 100 grams from like a vet med supply, but before that I was just using ivermectin sheep drench, which is like a fancy word for ivermectin solution of just ivermectin and propylene glycol. So it's like the two least palatable substances of all time. Like eating it just stays in your mouth for like 6 hours. Like it's so gross. I fucking hate propylene glycol, dude. Like you know, there's a big debate over whether or not it's like healthy to consume and blah, blah. I assume it has to be absolute fucking garbage for you just based on how unnatural it tastes. And the fact that like every single, you know, like all of the weird, like research chemical drugs, like all of the, like anastrozole, etc. Like it all comes suspended in propylene glycol. And like all of that stuff is just like inherently in my mind classified as like liquefied cancer. So I have to imagine that anything that it gets combined with is going to like either be equivalently cancer or like amplify its cancerous effects.
No, sorry. That's why like I had both of my accounts as speaker, because like my phone keeps fucking like skitzing out and spazzing. But like with propylene glycol, girls are complaining about it a lot recently because like women, they started getting into like the biohacking research chemical stuff.
Yeah.
And it's through TikTok. One of the things is like skinny girls started to take MK677, which is the the weight gainer, so they could like get like a bigger like bigger like dump truck, bigger ass when they're hitting the barbell.
Dude, the idea of women going on to like a vet med supply and buying like insulin pins and giving themselves MK667 is so fucking funny. Like they're giving themselves subcutaneous peptide injections. Like TikTok has actually like that's a really big barrier to breach, right? Like girls really do not like that shit.
Well, it's weird because like one of the things is in like the fit talk and fitstagram scene, right? Like it's like a kind of uh, I really got to do that biohacking account, but like at the same time, I don't want to get these like things like banned and blow up the spot, because like one of the things that you'll see is like the ostarine phenomenon, where like these girls they'll go on, and it's sort of like replace clenbuterol as like the weight loss and body recomposition drug, because like what ends up happening is like you have what are their names, Jasmine Gonzalez, Live Fit Ellie, Bobby B Fit, there's a few, and then also like a pro wrestler, Jamie Hayter. They all did like 6 to 8 week like ostarine things, and like they completely change, and the way that that chemical works is it disproportionately like the way it like interacts with your AR receptors, it makes you lose fat from the submental part of your body, which is your double chin area, and also from your like visceral fat from your stomach, like a 15% reduction. And when you think about it, that's basically like for 8 weeks you're getting like a Kybella treatment and also like an M-Sculpt treatment, and together that's like $4,800. So it makes sense why these people are like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna hop on this, and like coaches are like saying like, oh, you want to look like really really good, you want to look like these people, like jump on this for a little bit.
I assume we're still at the phase of like all of the SARM usage where nobody has any idea what the side effects are for the most part.
Well, the thing with ostarine, the reason why they push it on people is because it is the most studied one. For whatever reason, it just didn't get what the hell approved. It's the only one that like got all the way up to like phase 3 testing, and the reason why they rejected it was so vague. But that's the reason why like people are like, oh, this is the ideal SARM so far, except for the ones that are still in development. Whereas things like LGD and Rad 140, the side effects are like the worst things in the world.
Yeah, I remember there was like one where because SARMs were always like, I remember in maybe 2008, 2010, SARMs were pitched as this thing of like, oh, they're like steroids, like they have the same effect on the AR receptors as steroids do, but they don't downregulate any of your like internally produced androgens, so you're not going to be experiencing any of the side effects. Just going to be pure good, no bad. And then the first thing I hear is like, Rad 140 causes you to go blind, and I was like,
Oh, the one that causes you to go blind is S4, which is like the funniest thing in the world how people use it. S4 side effect is like it attaches to the AR receptors in your eyes, and like if you use it for too much, you lose the ability to see yellow, so you become like partially colorblind. But the way people use it now, they stopped using it for like body recomposition or like changing their bodies for like fat loss reasons. What they'll do now with S4 is they'll put inside a spray bottle and they'll spray it onto their scalp to prevent hair loss. Because what it does is it like if you put it on your scalp, it basically prevents testosterone and DHT, the miniaturization hormones that your body makes naturally, from attaching to them and basically making you go bald. So people who have like male pattern baldness or female pattern hair loss, they'll like get S4 in the propylene glycol solution inside a little spray bottle, and they'll like spray it all over their head.
does it actually work?
Yeah, supposedly it's not as like effective as like a topical finasteride, or even better, a topical dutasteride, but like people have been using it and they've been saying like, yeah, it's great result.
I imagine if you're like, how much does this stuff cost? Because some of the SARMs wound up being like extraordinarily low priced when I was looking at like China Raws, maybe like last decade or something. So I imagine if you can get like a basically unlimited supply of it for like $50, it would probably be like, yeah, it'd pay for itself.
Well, what people do is like they'll get it from like the bathtub chemists,
Yep.
and like they'll get it from like the people that are like third part, like Chemio has like the grip on the market, but like they sell like a 50 milliliter bottle for like $50. If you buy it yourself from like China or India or Russia, you don't know what you're getting. So at least like if it's like already tested and stuff, like people are like, all right, at least I know what I'm getting and I know what I'm experimenting with. See, the thing with the whole like research chemical space is like it's all word of mouth, and like your reputation is like where you live or die.
Yeah, because you can't publish anything formally because that's the thing. It's not like legal for human testing.
Yeah, so that's like the big joke where like people be like, yeah, I got this for my rat. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, my lab
It's like
rat.
back to the rat, the swim, my friend, all of this other stuff. Every time I see that, I just feel like an immense overwash of like, wow, this is really cocked. This is just awful. Like, can you please just say that you're using it, man? I swear to God, it's not going to result in a federal raid.
Well, see, the thing is, like, it's actually like for keeping it legal, it like kind of hampers like the feds tracking of it and saying like, oh, like people being smart about like not like admitting to using it actually like has kept it on the market longer. But then you see like all these funny things where like they did a study of like the London sewer system wastewater. Like ostarine is like the most common chemical inside of it now. And you see it like it's like referenced on Wikipedia, like, oh, in like a test of the London wastewater system, ostarine is like the most common chemical that they find. And
Wait, so when you say the most common chemical, do you mean like the most common like non-pharmaceutical, or is it like is ostarine literally more common than like birth control?
I think it's on par. Let me actually
What
pull it up.
the?
It's like, dude, it's funny because like the thing
So
is, there's so many
women are
people who.
using ostarine.
Let me find it.
Dude, I've got to get on TikTok is what I'm hearing. There's too much. It sounds like it sounds like there's a nearly infinite market share for just total nonsense.
In recent years, ostarine and related substances have been increasingly become used by the general public as gym supplements, such as a pre-workout or lifestyle drug, rather than as an aid
A
to.
lifestyle drug. What? How are you using ostarine as a lifestyle drug?
In 2018, an analysis of a fatberg inside the sewer of the central London, in the central London sewer system, showed ostarine to be the most abundant pharmaceutical drug detected and was present at higher concentrations than recreational drugs such as MDMA and cocaine. While this isolated result may not be representative of overall usage levels, for ostarine to be detectable in sewer deposits reflects significant use of ostarine in an area close to where the sample was collected. But it makes sense because so many people are like, oh, I'm getting a little bit of fat, or I have like a little bit of a pot belly, I got like a little bit of a double chin, I want to like change my life. This one isn't going to like prevent me from like making my own endogenous hormones. The recovery from it's only like a week. So people are like, all right, if this is the safest one, I'm gonna try it. But at the same time, there's sort of like a keeping up with the Joneses effect that I don't like, where like it's like all these people are like doing this thing to permanently change themselves and like go beyond their genetics. And it's like sort of like, what's the progression from this? Is everybody going to get plastic surgery now? There's already
Yeah, I
like
mean,
rules
the
about
way that
that.
I've been thinking about a lot of this stuff is like, you know how in crypto we basically have seen the younger generation having like an extreme propensity towards sort of like weird gambling activities due to the fact that uh they the sense of risk isn't as high and the sense of reward is much higher now, whereas like boomers felt that they had a lot more to lose. Like the average zoomer or millennial is like, yeah, I don't really like the worst case scenario is not that far away from where they are right now, so they don't necessarily want to be super safe with it. And I think it's kind of the same thing with this, where they're like, like I'm willing to be very risky with my health because like the upside is way higher than the downside. And so you're starting to see like a bunch of like totally random normies use all of these weird untested substances with like strange undocumented side effects, et cetera, et cetera.
You're 100% right with like millennials and with zoomers being like YOLO, you only live one life, and you know what? If it's gonna be mostly shitty, I want it to be like as good as possible, even if like But at the
I
same
think the
time,
popularity of like Ray Pete kind of reflects this, right? Like his whole, and he never explicitly comes out and says this, but like a big part of like Ray Peteism is you should be taking these weird hormonal chemicals because like why not, right? Like we're just become like the superhuman master of your own biology, and we're kind of getting there with
oh yeah, dude. With the Ray Pete stuff, they have like their own little research chemical that's like big among the Peters, and like I gotta really be careful with how I describe this because I don't want to get like doxxed. Because with like esoteric diet shit, people are like very tribalistic and like they get insane, and they'll be like, so I gotta be really careful with how I say this, but there's this 6-keto progesterone, which is like a form of progesterone that like is less estrogenic, and it's supposed to have all the benefits of progesterone. So it's like supposed
the
to be like
SARMs of progesterone.
yeah, and it's supposed to be like if you're worried about like getting hair loss, it's supposed to prevent that. It's supposed to prevent your like cortisol and stress hormones from aging you. So the Peters really got into this like 6-keto progesterone, and I was like, you know what? I test myself a lot. Like I get blood tests, I gym cell, I do sports. I'm gonna try it for 35 days, and I felt great. But then near the end, I noticed myself becoming more emotional, more paranoid. I was like, wait, what's going on? And I'm trying to get traditional with this one girl. She's perfect. I'm like completely enamored with her. But then I was like, I got like paranoid out of nowhere. I was like, is she ghosting me? Is she like not talking to me? Like, did I? And then when I got my blood test result, I went to Quest. I saw that my SHBG, my sex hormone binding globulin, it was nuked down to the single digits without even realizing it. And your SHBG, that's the thing that like controls and like regulates your like testosterone and like estrogen. And when you're like on cycle, certain substances, what they'll do is they'll like lower it, and that's like good in the short term because like you'll get like effects like fat loss or what you call it, like fat loss, muscle gain. Da, da, da. If you have low SHBG for too long, then it can reverse and you can become like fat or diabetic or blah 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 blah. But that's basically like the cause or one of the causes of like roid rage and like like unstable emotions and shit. And I was like, why am I being so emotional and like paranoid? And then like I saw, oh, my SHBG is fucking nuked. I'm right now like acting like a woman on her period.
So
And it's from
this is the really weird thing to me about stuff like that is like you're describing a process wherein you actually track most of your hormones over
Mhm.
a period of time. Every fucking person, every like Ray Pete fan that I talk to does not get regular bloods, and a lot of them lie about it. Like a lot of them will pretend they get regular bloods, and then you like ask to see them, and they like you don't provide them, and it's just this really weird thing where like they're describing all of these really complex interrelated hormonal pathways, and then they're like extremely confident about like the impact one is going to have on the other or whatever. Oh yeah, no, this is totally good, all upsides, no downsides, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're like, okay, like could you show me like what does your hormone panel look like? And
yeah.
there's just fucking nothing. Like there's never anything that they have. It's so frustrating.
So with this keto 6 progesterone, it's not totally useless, but like the Peters, they have to like if they're gonna like push this onto people, they gotta tell people like, oh yeah, get a metformin prescription to raise your SHBH, or take a lot of vitamin D, or Restival, which is like the supplement that comes from red wine that also raises it, because like if you have chronically low SHBG, you could start getting a positive feedback reaction where like you're depositing way too much fat. You not just that, the irregular emotions like aggression and like maybe crying fits for some people. Other people, like, it's like they should like get tested, and they should like, I don't know, but at the same time, if I like criticize them too hard, and I don't want to be seen as like the anti-Ray Pete guy, or like the guy that's like, like, I don't want to turn myself into public enemy number one, because Red
Yeah,
Scare
because
started
rape is the
pimping this.
current meme.
Yeah, but like Red Scare started pimping this, and there's like been a couple girls who are like,
Wait,
you know what?
Red Scare is out here pushing some like 6 keto progesterone research chemical shit.
No, the Ray Pete stuff. But because of
Oh,
that, the Ray Pete forums are like a big thing. The 6 keto progesterone, there's like a girl who like basically like started it, and it's like, if this shit takes off like how like raw milk did and like the other things did, those were harmless, and in many cases were like good for you and like good culinarily. With like once you get into like the endocrine system, it's like a very complicated thing, and you got to be like sort of a nerd and like autistic to know, like, all right, if I adjust this, I have to counterbalance it with this, or else like some bad shit can go down, you know? And
yeah. I mean, that was always the reason that I kind of like tapped out of all of it, because it's very hard to fuck with any one thing without fucking with 18 other things you didn't really intend to. And like, you can feel really good for like a month or 2 or 3, but everything I ever did wound up with me in the end feeling like I was dying after like 3, 6 months. And it seemed easier to just not play with any of it.
one thing that I'll do is when people like ask me about like PEDs or SARMs, right? As like they'll say like, "Oh, I have low test," and then I'll say, "All right, if you have low test, look at HCG or Tonga Cat Ali as like a natural test. But one of them is herbal, the other one is like refined from women's piss, pregnant women's piss,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it
HCG has always been really funny for that.
acts as like a was it analog for luteinizing hormone, so it turns your balls back on. And the thing is, people will ask about SARMs. I'll say, all right, if you want to do it, you can try ostarine, but don't touch Rad 140, don't touch S4, definitely don't touch LGD unless you want to shut your balls off. And then what people will do is like they'll ask you for advice, and then they'll do specifically the opposite of what you said. And like I had this one guy, he was like, "Oh, so what should I do?" And I said, "Listen, ostarine's the one that's tested the most, that's the one that's used the most. Almost nobody has like shut themselves off from it. If you really want to, I recommend not, but if you want to, you can try it. But don't go towards Rad 140. Don't try the other stuff. Don't try LGD." And then he tries Rad 140. And then like 2 months later, he's like crying that like, "Oh my God, I'm Norwood. I'm Norwood. I fucking," and it's like, I told you, you stupid motherfucker, don't fuck with Rad 140. But nope,
Wait, so there are SARMs out there that cause hair loss?
Rad 140 does. And like people are
Oh
like,
my God, that's so funny, man. So there's literally a TikTok trend right now convincing people to use SARMs, and some proportion of these people are going to go bald from falling for a TikTok meme.
see, with ostarine, right? Like that's the one that's like the least virilizing, it's the least masculine. Like it doesn't, like you're not going to go bald from it. You're not, so that's why women will use that one to like lose the body fat from their
Is
stomach.
it like you're truly not going to go bald from it, or is it the classic? Because like I'm so used to people
No,
who are
you're
like,
truly not
yeah,
going
man,
to.
like I've used steroids for years, and like you don't lose hair. Like steroids don't make you lose hair unless you've got the genetics for hair loss. And you're like looking at this person, and you're like, I have been watching your hairline recede for the last 5 years. You
Yep,
absolutely
yep.
delusional retard.
Yep. So with ostarine, right? It's not the biggest, like, you're not going to put on like 10 pounds. Well, actually, you're not going to put like 20 pounds of dry muscle mass in 8 weeks with it, right? But at the same time, you will with something like Rad 140. And the thing with ostarine You're not going to develop more facial hair. It's like the closest one of the SARMs that actually does what it was supposed to be. Because
So
what
it's like the Anavar of SARMs, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Its effect is very similar to Anavar, because if you ever like see like there's like a Reddit like XX steroids, and it's like women who like experimented with steroids, and it's
Dude,
like,
that is the most like people have shilled Crystal Cafe to me as like the most cursed place online, but XX steroids might actually be like the absolute worst thing that I've ever seen on the internet in terms of like its effect on humanity.
see, the thing is like all these women, they'll be like, oh, I'm going to try D-ball, Diana ball. I wonder what's going to happen. It's like then shortly afterwards,
You're
I
going to
grew a beard.
transition.
I grew a beard.
You're
I
yeah,
got
you're
it.
going to transition. There's no way you're going to use Diana Ball and have it be fine. So what if I just microdose Diana Ball? It's so weird, dude. Because like freshman, sophomore year of college, I hung out with like a lot of these fitness girls, and they would always because like with guys, you can basically fuck around with whatever you want, and like maybe you'll take like a Norwood hit, maybe you'll get like gyno but it's nothing that's like you can get gyno surgery. People are going to expect you to go bald anyway. Like it's not like life ending, but like all of these girls would gradually get memed into like first it would be they would develop like a cocaine thing. And then from cocaine they would be like somehow they would move to Anavar. And then from Anavar they would be like Anavar is cool, but I want to use more, man. I need to get bigger. I need to get
Yeah.
thicker. I need to put on more size. And they'd start looking at like very unsafe steroids, and they'd start like because there's a reasonable level that they all had for stuff like testosterone or Debo where they're like, if I take this much, I won't sound like a man. But like, well, what if I just like try a little bit more than that much? And it's like you don't have there's not like a warning point. You don't have like a gray zone with this shit. So like as soon as you pass the point of it like turning your voice into like a man voice, they were kind of stuck. And they could like drop the dosage and they could go back, but like they can't they can't unfuck what they've fucked.
Yup. So the thing with like when before SARMs, when women were doing steroids, if they ever moved beyond Anavar, they would masculinize themselves. The process, the scientific process is virilization. And with Rad 140, the reason why that one failed the like development process was because it was virilizing. What SARMs were originally developed for was as a treatment for muscle wasting disorders, or while you're going on chemotherapy and like you're losing weight and your body's all fucked up. So the closest one that was the closest to being passed was Ostarine, because it didn't virilize. You didn't get androgenic alopecia. You didn't get beard development from it. You didn't get like estrogenic side effects in like gynecomastia development, man boob development. But because of that, and because of it's essentially like the SARM's version of Anavar. And because of that, girls started using it, men started using it. But the person I just shared on the Jumbotron, her name is Jasmine Gonzalez, Jasmine Sus, Jasmine the Great. And you can see from her like jawline, like that
Yeah, she's
reduction.
got some growth hormone jaw there.
No, but like you can see from her jaw, she has no double chin. That's the sub mental area that like permanently because what Anavar does, it reduces your stomach fat by 15% permanently through like but not like if you take it once, you have to like take it for like 8 weeks and do like a cycle. The same thing happens with Ostarine. So like all these girls, they see the results, and let me see if there's like a physique pic of
See,
this
I'm
shit.
looking at her face now. Her face's fat distribution is really quite wild. Like
Yeah,
she's got a very lean chin compared to her like cheeks.
and that's the
You
effect,
look like
because
you've
like
had plastic surgery done.
that's the
Sorry, I'm
effect.
just
Yeah, maybe.
happy to be here. It's really your
I guess
final stream.
That's the effect, because like how when they were doing the testing, if you ever look at the medical studies, there is a 14.93% reduction from visceral fat and subcutaneous stomach fat, and also around the same amount, I think it was like a permanent 16% reduction in the submental, which is like the scientific term for your double chin. So what you'll see, and why I like to like pick on her and like use her as the example, her cheek fat, like her subnasal cheek fat, it's still there. But her jawline, it's like almost like she did Kybella, which is like the injection that melts fat. And when women see this result, they're like, oh my God, I want to be like an Instagram model or like a fitness Barbie. And it's like their coaches will push it onto them. And it's like, I don't like this underground subculture specifically for the fact it encourages more people to like mess around and try stuff. And it's like, oh, well, this one thing like worked for me before. And now like it's going to be like a gateway drug phenomenon where it's like, maybe I should try something else afterwards. Or like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not describing it the best.
I think a really big issue with all of this stuff is that like people who have been dealing with like pharmaceuticals in America have basically gotten used to the fact that like nothing permanent ever happens, right? So like you can you can go through your first 20 years of life taking whatever drugs the doctor prescribes, getting whatever vaccines, etc. And like there's never any sort of lasting effect that you're generally going to suffer from any of this stuff. But then like you go and you start fucking with hormonals as a girl, and suddenly, given your past experience, you're not really expecting there to be much danger, but like you're walking on a fucking minefield. Everything can explode your life completely. Oh God, he's gone. Everyone's muted.
Oh shit, I'm here. Sorry, I was muted while I was talking. This physique pic is why I like, well, you see both her chin and her stomach. Her stomach is like unnaturally flat, like almost like she did like a M sculpt or cool sculpting. And then her like chin, it's like super defined, whereas like her cheek fat is still there. And like that's like the telltale sign that like this girl has fucked around with ostarine. And with guys too, you see it as well. But like when guys get really skinny, like when they're at like 15% body fat or like below, like their cheeks hollow out and they get, so you don't really see like somebody who's like, massively cut and like, very, very like low body fat, but then still has like a chubby fat face,
Yeah.
And I don't know, the I kind of feel like I'm going around in circles, and like I apologize to the audience for that, but I also just think that the topic is like fascinating because like if you ever look at like the early 2000s, Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, even J-Lo, they all used clenbuterol. And if you ever look up what clenbuterol is and go on to like the Wikipedia page for it, you'll see like society and culture, all, and they'll talk about like the 2000s idols and also the models and stuff when like heroin chic was like in and people were all wifeish. They used Clen to get like really, really, really skinny. But now all those women, 20 years later, they're in their 40s, and you see like the side effect, like the rebound of like Britney Spears today. She did have 2 kids, but Gwen Stefani was also an idol during that area. She never during that era, she never touched Clen. And like even though she's like also like in her 50s, in her like late 40s, she didn't like degrade and like fall apart like these other people did that touched Clen. So I wonder what the side effect of all of, I wonder what my side effects are going to be 20 years from now when I'm like 49 years old.
Yeah, I wonder about, because I mean, Clen, I never really saw. Nobody who used Clen ever really had any sort of short-term side effects. They mostly just were like, "This shit sucks. Like, I just feel really bad." Like that was what I always heard from Clen users was like, it's like they stopped using it because they're like, it's not even worth it for like the increase in fat loss. Like I'm literally better off just eating slightly less than I am taking this thing that makes me feel like fucking dog shit. And so I never saw like, I don't know, it's kind of like a self-regulating thing on that frontier. But with stuff like Austrian, like I do know a ton of like a ton of the like bodybuilding group chats have guys who like they just casually, like, they just come back like 3 months later and they're like, yeah, I've done like 2 ostrine cycles since I've been gone. So I assume we're going to see a bunch of downstream effects from that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I've seen horror stories from LGD, and LGD, that one like shuts off people's like gonads. So like you'll see like men and women that have fucked with it, and they'll say like, uh-oh, my balls or my ovaries are no longer producing testosterone or estrogen. I'm fucked. I gotta go on HRT as like a cis person. So that's why I tell people don't touch LGD. And then with Rad 140, that one failed because it has masculinizing effects. So men are complaining like, oh no, I'm balding. And women will be like, oh no, I developed fucking like facial hair from it.
Do
And
the women never bald? So the women who take the masculinizing stuff never bald?
sometimes you'll see it, but like the thing is like female pattern hair loss, if you want to like get an in-depth view, there's like that guy, he's like I've heard rumors that he has like a secret account on like our sphere, in our sphere. What I've learned today, he's like this like white guy that lives in Japan, and like he did like a debunk of the meat is causing climate change. And like I've heard rumors that like he has like an account over here, and like he runs in our circles, which I won't be surprised, because there are a couple people in Japan that are like gaijins that are like on weird Twitter.
Right. Like it's kind of like uncommon that you wind up in Japan as a white guy without being far to one side or the other, right? Like,
And you're
there's
making
not a lot of
crypto right
normies
wing.
that go to Japan.
Yeah, and you're making crypto right wing content on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the what I learned today, guy, he has like a good video on like hair loss and like why Botox injections for like your scalp is going to like become like the new treatment pretty
Oh
soon.
yeah, the Botox shit actually works really well, right? Doesn't it have like 80% increase in follicular density?
It works as both as a growth agonist, and it also, people are claiming,
Decreases galeal tension.
oh yeah, yep. And like the galeal tension, like people are saying that that tension is what causes the like hormones to like attach to the receptors and then cause androgenic alopecia. But to get back to what you were saying, I haven't seen any girls who are like, oh, I've done Rad 140 and it made me go Norwood, like I got female pattern balding. But probably somebody has. They were just so embarrassed they didn't say anything about it.
That's what I was going to wonder, because I bet there's a bunch of well, the other thing is, like, I think that hairlines are not something that girls like super check up on. Like, I know girls get a lot of mirror time in compared to guys, but I still think that like their focus is mostly on things at the eyebrows and below them. I think for the majority of women, they've just gotten used to not looking at their forehead. So I imagine it would be like one of the later things to notice. It would have to be, because I mean, guys don't notice it at all, really. Like the average guy has to get to such a late stage of balding before he like but like you see all these pictures on like hair loss forums and stuff, and the guy will be like, oh my god, I'm only 21 and I just realized that I've been balding. And then you scroll down to the pictures and it's like a Norwood 6. Like he's like super fucking receded, his hairline is like back to the middle of his head, he's got like a bald spot, and you're like, how did you just notice this? Like this, you're really telling me this just snuck up on you, bro? Like,
There is a thing that like dermatologists will tell people, where they'll say most men don't notice hair loss until 50% of their follicles are gone, which is like, that's a horrifying thing to think about.
I think it might actually be worse, dude, because like I'm looking back at pictures of me as a kid. My hair was so fucking thick that it literally was like it looked ridiculous. There was no way that I could style that shit and have it look normal, because it was so thick that it would layer and stand on top of itself. And like I had like ethnic kid hair, and now it's like normal hair. But
Yep.
like the difference between then and now is surely like I probably lost like 80% of my follicles.
Well,
Or at
see,
least 80% of I guess the thickness too. Like that shit used to be like ungodly thick. Used to be like bigger than my mustache hair.
when I was a kid, I had like so thick hair, it was almost like Chinese person hair, right? And now it's like wavy. It definitely thinned out as like I went through puberty and just like in general, right? And I'm really good about my like my hair loss prevention routine because like my grandpa and my dad, they both like ended up going bald. And then for me, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do my topical dutasteride, the dutasteride spray. This one stays on the scalp. It doesn't enter the bloodstream, so I don't have to worry about like any sort of like side effects from that. And then I'll do ketoconazole shampoo and CBD, like CB 0301. That's also like a spray. And I have a cousin who's like already like bald. He had to like go the Andrew Tate and like shave. Me, I've maintained my shit all the way from when I was 26 to 29. And it's good so far. Maybe in the future it's not going to be as effective, but like I don't know. I haven't been noticing anything. Knock on wood that I don't go bald.
You've got to go into a dermatologist and get them to do like a scalp biopsy to make sure that the follicles aren't going away.
Oh, I have a dermatologist because like I have like skin issues like moles that need to get like cut off every once in a while,
Do they
and
just regrow? Do you just cut them off and they regrow and there's nothing you do about it? Or if you like biopsy the whole section, do they go away for good?
they go away for good. See, you have like two different ways of like getting rid of moles. First one is like they have like a scoop that like they like ice cream scoop it out. There was like this enemy character from the anime Fist of the North Star. His like fighting style was he like made his hand into like a scoop and he would like literally like slice like people like chunks of people out of them. And that's basically what they do to your mole. That's like one. And then the other one is with like a scalpel. They excise it and then they like stitch it up. And I prefer the scalpel look because one, like a scar is more aesthetic. And two, if you have a Derminator, which is like a micro needling device that like went
The
viral.
Terminator 2, sold by the world's sketchiest British website.
Yep. But
Dude,
the
every time I suggest that product to anybody, they're like, they go to the website and they're just like, this is like a shittier scam website than like the average.
oh Lucas, you like cut out for a second.
Trustworthy.
You cut out for a second when you were like
Oh, what was the last thing I said?
it was like this is, and then I heard the second part of trustworthy.
Oh, they just think it's like the least on or the least trustworthy thing ever. Like it's on the same level as like a crypto.xyz domain in terms of how absurdly shitty the site looks. And like you buy and it sends you the product and it's real apparently. And it's interesting because they like apparently like the way their motor design is really interesting because they've got like two solenoids and they control the actuation of the needles by having a magnet that oscillates between the two solenoids, and they like the solenoids. So it's not just the solenoids; they have like a reed switch in there too. But they basically sense the position of the magnet, and they use the magnet itself as a mass driver for the needles. So there's like a little hammer on the back of the needle pack, and the magnet gets slammed into that back and it pushes the needles into your skin, and then the solenoids pull the magnet back, and then they repeat this process, and based on the power that they're giving the solenoids, they can either have the magnet oscillate like a greater or a lesser amplitude. So it's just like this is like a kind of an in-depth thing to come up with for a personal like micro needling device, and then put it on like such a shitty fucking website. Like such a scam. Like they went to so much effort for this, and then the website is just like I could do better with this based on my like 2 hours experience with WordPress.
So really quick, as like some inside baseball, one of my little spies was saying that like a couple girls group chats, they were like alerted to like what we were talking about, and they sent like people in here to like try to listen, but because we were using scientific terms, they were like, you know what, I lost interest and left. So like this is actually the way we're supposed to like describe this stuff, because once you start using big words, the guys will like stay and they'll like try to figure it out and listen, whereas like the girls, they'll like lose interest if you don't like use like really simple like, oh yeah.
Wait, what were they trying to extract from all of this? They were trying to figure out like beautifying advice.
Yeah, because like if me and you were like talking about like
Like Osprey, they're trying to figure out how to like best reduce their chin fat or something, but they couldn't figure it out because you used that weird technical term.
that's basically what ended up happening. Um and also like when we were talking about the Derminator, if we said like, oh yeah, it's a micro needling device you can buy for yourself and like you'll be able to get rid of like stretch marks or like scars from it, they'd stick around. But because we started talking about like, oh yeah, it oscillates and and it's very interesting, that they like were like, I'm shutting off my brain and I'm leaving the fucking space.
Honestly, though, that chick that you
So
showed,
I actually need to be going the opposite direction then, because this is a clear indicator that my ability to market anything is fucking shit.
No, but
I can't reach normal people at all.
we don't want girls knowing about this stuff and like experimenting with, fucking with things that shouldn't be fucked with. We actually like ended up without realizing it doing the right thing.
We just saved them 6 Norwood levels.
Yeah, because like when it comes to, even though that compound, I'm not gonna say it again because like people are probably like, oh, take a shot every time they name it, but that compound is like the safest one of them. But there's like a gateway drug effect where it's like, oh, this worked for me, great. Why don't I experiment with something new? And then that's when the horror stories come in with
Yeah,
those
dude,
things.
that was 100% the worst thing that I noticed about steroids is like all of the guys who I hung out with, like, because freshman sophomore year, I basically hung out. I was like a total gym cell. I hung out with like all of the athletes, all of the fitness girls. I went to all these fitness conventions and shit. Basically broken every barrier for doing every drug ever, right? Like once you've gotten to that point of having stuck a needle in your body or like used what is considered to be like the most serious to administer drug, it's like, oh yeah, like fuck it, man, I'll do ketamine. I don't care. That's not a big thing. Oh, PCP, fuck it. Like who cares? Meth,
Yeah.
whatever. All of them had like benzo, oxy addictions. It was very I think I saw something that said that steroids have like the highest polydrug association out of any substance ever.
Yeah, well, the reason why it's particular because so many guys get on trend, and like that's like become like the meme steroid. Like everybody makes and normies and everybody knows like, oh yeah, but the problem is like because that is the meme steroid and that's the one that's like, oh, I'm gonna go on it, I'm gonna turn 26, I'm gonna turn 30 and I'm gonna go on it. That's the one that gives you the crazy psychological side effects of like the insane roid rage, the insane libido, like all the guys that are like, yeah, I had sex in public on a bus with like this disgustingly fat ogre girl, and it's like, yeah.
Dude, I knew a guy who did he was doing contest prep and he was using a bunch of tren near the end of it and he literally just stayed awake for the whole time.
Well, I'm right now doing something really stupid because in from December to March, I'm going to be like going inside some grappling tournaments. I have to cut down to a range where I can easily get to 185. So I'm doing a water fast for the next 10 days. And I'm also taking a T3, your T3 thyroid hormone.
Oh no, dude.
Yeah, and basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to lose muscle on purpose. I'm trying to like get skinny.
I guess that's the only situation in which T3 makes sense. I've never seen anybody use it without doing exactly that.
Well, yeah, because T3 is catabolic. It causes you to lose both fat and muscle. And I'm right now at 230, right? I just came back from Europe. I'm a little wet. And you know what? It's like, oh shit, I want to like compete a little bit before I'm in my 30s and everything starts hurting. And like Naga grappling, freestyle judo, FWIC, which is like the Combat Wrestling Association, and that's basically like the name for sambo. And I want to like after the pandemic, it was like, oh shit, I've given up on jujitsu for a little bit. I haven't done anything. I haven't like gone out. I've kind of been like a little bit lethargic. I've just been gym selling. I've been like accumulating mass, but I'm not a mass monster. It's like, you know what? Let me get like lean, because when I was comparing my own body to the Europeans, they were like athletic and lean, and I was like, fuck, dude, like I should be more like that. Because like there were certain things they were able to dance, and I couldn't really dance like they could. Like shuffling was like a thing at like an EDM fest. I couldn't really do that. When I came back to the States, I got my old skateboard. I tried to do a kickflip, and I busted my fucking ass. So it's like one of the things is like when you're like big, you kind of worry, not worry, but like, you know how you have like your sixth and your seventh sense, which is like your presopication or whatever. I can't pronounce it, but it's like the way your body, you're able to like move it and like have awareness of it. I think like I kind of fucked that up, and I should like I shouldn't be in like the 220 range. I should be like closer down to like 195, 215, like that area generally.
Well, you said you do like BJJ or Muay Thai or something, right?
Used to do Muay Thai, and then I got CTE. That's like the type of brain
Oh
damage.
yeah. Well, the big thing for me is just like if I am not playing any sport regularly, then like my whatever the presopication, whatever you just said, uh, like my ability to know where my body is going to be or just like be an athletic human being is like essentially zero if I'm not actively doing a sport.
Yeah, dude. And the thing is like, so when I was never really an EDM head, because like EDM inside of America is kind of trashy. Women wear like pasties and shit, and like they're wearing lingerie out. Inside Europe, it's like more of like you know, like a social thing. It's kind of classier, right? And you know, I tried to like teach myself and like learn, because I could do like the Running Man and like the cross cut and like some of them when I was younger, but I was like, damn, I feel like I have two left feet. Like I feel fucked up. And then also when like I tried to skateboard again and like I fucking busted my ass, it's like my balance is all fucked up. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should like lose some. And this is the thing that like actors do when they're like doing recompositions for like their roles. Like Jake Gyllenhaal for Nightcrawler, he like put on a lot of mass for the Marine movie and then also for Prince of Persia. And then he was like, for Nightcrawler, I want to look like a coyote, so I'm gonna lose muscle on purpose. And then for Southpaw, which was like the boxing movie he did in 2015, like once he started working out again, like he got his muscles back without even like trying or like doing any sort of compounds, because what's that shit called, myonuclei accumulation. Anyway, this is all, but if you're like normie and this is like foreign to you, I'm probably just like spouting more retarded guy talking about.
I like dude, the greatest thing that I've noticed about like lifting for like 10 years and getting to the point where your body is used to holding that muscle, like I can do a bunch of really stupid stuff right now and not have to worry about like any sort of negative effects to anything, right? Like I can go and I can just do like a 21-day fast out of nowhere right now. And yeah, I'll like lose some weight or whatever, but then like I come back and do things normally for like a week or two and like it's just we're back to normal. Like like we've reset pointed normal to the point where like when I was first starting to lift, like if I had gone like a week eating like slightly reduced amounts, I would just lose like 15 pounds and like set myself back like months of progress.
Oh, man, like I, that's the beauty of like once you like reach a certain point, you can like maintain like I'd say 80 to 85% of your physique with just like
Nothing. Yeah, like
calisthenics and like
yeah.
dumbbells.
That's exactly. Yeah, no, like because at this point, like I've started to accept that lifting overall is probably not like, you know, like you put up 315 on bench and you start to feel that maybe this isn't like super healthy. Like I can start feeling the shoulder clicks more, like my back is starting to scream out a little bit more in pain, and all of this stuff is getting to be and we have atavism up here now too for perfectly timing this. We're becoming calisthenic cells.
Well,
But
before we like move on, the one thing I want to say, Lucas, was my boss like my direct superior at work described me as an idiot savant, and
An
was
idiot
like,
savant.
yeah, like essentially like yeah, this guy, he can do like massive technical like complicated things, but then like he talks like a Goomba, and like it was like the most backhanded fucking compliment ever to like describe somebody as an
Yeah, I
idiot
was gonna
savant.
say, like when I think of idiot savants, I think of people with much lower competencies in their fields outside of their ones in which they excel, and then you have. If it makes you feel any better, I feel that your points of low competency don't fully put you within the territory of someone who would be described as an idiot savant.
Thank you, bro. Slada, how you been, brother? Judging?
I'm judging, man. I'm laughing about the talk about lifting and dieting. I've lost all of my muscles because I've developed alcoholism and addiction to cigarettes from watching Peaky Blinders.
You have to start replace the alcohol and cigarettes with a sort of like queer meditative Buddhism type thing, like the breathing exercises, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where, like, I don't know, dude. Like, I think the main point, like, I think you're supposed to lift when you're young, get the muscle on, get it solidified, and then just be relatively athletic and muscular throughout your adulthood by like continuing to just have what you had, and like, but not focusing on it. Like, I think you should not have to focus on it. And I think like for people who want to try and get like really jacked when they're 35, I think it's honestly just like not something you should spend the time on. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be super fucking hard. You're going to have to spend like 10 years of your life with this project in the back of your head, when it's like, dude, you're supposed to be making money now. Like,
Well, see,
you're-
the peak of when you can like put on muscle is from 26 to 32, and then after that it's like,
dude, I absolutely do not fucking believe that. Is that for real?
yeah,
26 to 32?
that's like the peak of like actually like, and then after that it like all goes downhill from there. And that's why a lot of people like describe your late 20s as your like second puberty, because like all these like these like various secondary sex characteristics like pop through. And I don't know if it's because of diet or whatever, but like you're also noticing it with like the millennial 30-year-olds. Some of them that aren't falling fucking apart, they're starting to look better than they did in their 20s. And it's like this weird phenomenon of like,
I can attest to that one, but yeah, go on.
it's like this weird phenomenon of like I don't know, that there's like these people who are like super late bloomers now, and it seems like there's more and more and more of them. Ugh. Yeah.
Dude, I'm so fucked up over this though. Like, I feel like my pinnacle of putting on muscle was like age 17.
See, the thing is, like, it's supposed to be, right? Because like that's when you're like your highest in your testosterone. That's like when your growth hormone is like shooting off. But the thing is, like, you still have like your receptors are not sensitized yet or something, and then also your like SHBG is like a little too high to compensate with like the flood of testosterone and the wild shifts in hormones. It's like your diurnal rhythm is like all fucked up. So you'd think that like 17 years old, you know, that's when it's like your peak. That's when you're going to put on your most muscle. But then when you compare like the average 17-year-old and then the average 23-year-old, you notice like, oh, which one is generally bigger as like an aggregate, you know?
I don't know. I've always separated out trying to like. It's always been rough to try and tell how much of it was just due to like the sheer focused autism, because like I had my senior year of high school, I went like full turbo autist mode, and like everyone always says like you will never have more time in your life than you do when you're in high school, etc., right? And I used like 100% of that time my senior year on the sport that I was in and on lifting, like literally like super hyper focused all of it into it. There was no downtime. Cramming meals in, always meal prepping, lifting, practicing, something like that. And I just don't know if I'm ever going to have that opportunity to do something like that ever again. Like, it was just simply such a like you wake up, think about how to become more muscular every minute of the day. Like it was really, really absurd. And like if I were to do something like that right now, like I would describe myself as like a mental health disaster.
Yeah, well, imagine you're doing that, and you know you're locked down. Like you have all that free time too. You're like working from home, or you're doing classes from home. That's just nothing else to do but meal prep and eat and train like twice a day sometimes. But yeah, it doesn't make you like. I think the weird misconception about lifting is like, oh, this is so hard. This is like a Spartan thing to do. It's actually really it's kind of like a
Right, it's like
luxurious thing.
it's the very like most basic thing you can do, right? Like it
Yeah.
literally is just like as long as you put in like the relative prerequisite of effort, which is like very, very fucking low, and as long as you like don't fuck up horribly in some way, like killing yourself or like not eating at all, like you're going to work towards the goal. And there's realistically only like 3 things that you need to do. So like I get really confused when people have some sort of trouble with it.
Yeah. There's no like losing. There's nothing takes you out of the game. You just keep doing it.
Yeah, it was literally just like every time I went to the gym, I would do better than the last time that I was in the gym until I got to the point where I was like reasonably muscular enough that everybody would recognize that like, okay, it would make sense for you to hit some sort of like peaking point now.